and the Director of Public Information for the Chicago Board of Elections is here. Andre, introduce our guest.
Our guest is Max Bever, the Director of Public Information with the Chicago Board of Elections. We talk to you every election day, primary and the general. How's it going, Max?
Going all right. I think we're well caffeinated enough to start off the day.
Good, exactly. Polls have been open for exactly 39 minutes, but they've been open for months now throughout the Chicagoland area. I know we don't have numbers or anything like that, but early indications, did a lot of people vote early this year?
There is. As of last night, we were just over 9.3% citywide turnout when we combined our early voting and vote-by-mail ballots. However, as of last night, we had only 91,000 early votes leading up to Election Day. That's a bit lower than what we've seen for previous presidential primaries, even our last municipal elections. So we hope that's not a canary in the coal mine for much lower turnout today. But it does look like we might be closer to the numbers that we saw in 2012 for a presidential primary, where we saw over just 315,000 ballots cast for a 24% citywide turnout. But given that we saw a surge in early voting last night, we know a lot of people are waiting for Election Day. We're hopeful to see that turnout does pick up today, and we can see somewhere in the 30% range for our citywide turnout.
And 30%, look, I'm not saying this is your words, Max, is mine. It's pathetic. This is exactly what we ran into in the mayoral race. If you don't think the mayoral race is important, if you don't think the state's attorney's race is important, if you don't think the, quote, millionaire's tax ballot measure is important, you missed the memo. Mm-hmm. All of these affect your life if you live in Illinois because it affects Chicago. And people in Cook County specifically, you got to vote. And we're hoping for 30%. Max, I get why you're hoping for 30%, but that's a sad number.
No, it is a bit sad to be hoping for something that sounds so low, but we also know that presidential primaries can be tough for a lot of people. And when it's not very competitive at the top of the ballot for either parties, as well as many of the other races, that's when we see a bit of lower turnout comparatively to 2016, where we saw 56% of the city turn out to vote. At this point, I think we're going to fall somewhere in the middle between our presidential primary elections. But as you said, there's a lot of important races on this ballot. Just because you have to pick a political party that you're nominating these candidates and you got to vote for them again on November 5th doesn't mean that there are plenty of very important races, including Cook County State's attorney, circuit court clerk, and as you mentioned, the citywide referendum question, which has been a bit of a roller coaster, both off and then on the ballot. But it is on the ballot, and those results will be reported tonight with election night results.
Max, does that roller coaster ride with the referendum this time around, did that make it challenging for you? Because I know there were court challenges to it. Would it be on the ballot? Would it be off the ballot? But obviously it stayed on. Does that create any sort of a challenge for you behind the scenes when you're putting ballots together?
It does, but, it isn't our first rodeo. We sure have had a lot of history of candidates coming on and off. I think very famous case, Rahm Emanuel heading to the Illinois Supreme Court and ultimately being ruled on the ballot and winning. But it is a bit of new precedent. We haven't seen this type of case before when it comes to a citywide referendum question. That's usually related to a candidate and their petitions. So we're in new territory, and it's so very rare that we see these type of binding questions posed to voters in the city's history. It's only really a handful of times it's ever happened. And the last time that one's been successful was all the way back in 1885, and it created the Chicago Board of Elections. So I think that really just shows how rare that these questions are posed and have binding influence on policy. So It's important for voters to show up and make their voice heard.
All right, let's do the 101. You vote today until 7?
That's right. We've got all 51 vote centers open. So if you know where your early voting site, that's also open today from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Nice thing there for voters is that you can vote at any of those sites, no matter where you live in the city. So if you've got your lunch break or you can't make it home in time, you can use any of those vote centers that are open. Otherwise, you should go to your assigned precinct polling place. That's your neighborhood polling place. You can find out where that's at by going to chicagoelections.gov. Use our Your Voter Information page. It's right there on the home page. You can get your district information. You can get your precinct polling place, your closest vote centers. You can also find your sample ballots, too, if you want to make sure you know exactly who's on your precinct ballot when you get into that polling booth, and so you feel comfortable voting.
Do you think we're going to have, well, I know you can't prognosticate, but will this be a situation where there might be a late night for certain races, like the state's attorney, of course, between Clayton Harrison, Eileen O'Neill Burke, and even the referendum question? Will they be close? And how soon do we think we might be announcing winners tonight?
Well, that's part of the issue when it comes to a lower turnout, and especially when we have many vote-by-mail ballots that are still out there and have not been returned back. We had over 176,000 vote-by-mail ballot applications, but as of last night, we only had 66,000 of those returned.
Wow.
So we do have 109 vote-by-mail ballots that will be, a lot of those will be coming back today, both through the mail, people using secure drop boxes. So if you are a vote-by-mail voter and you still have that ballot, please take that over to a secure drop box at all of our early voting sites that are open today as vote centers, or a super site downtown at Clark and Lake. Help get that back so we can count those results. So if there are close races tonight for the referendum question or state's attorney, if it is very, very close, it might not be something where the campaigns feel comfortable conceding or calling victory tonight. We might have to see how some of those vote-by-mail ballots come back in the next few days.
That was my follow-up to you, Max, is that if you get them in the next couple of days, what is the deadline at which you stop accepting the ballots and counting them?
By Illinois state law, we have a 2-week period after election night. Now, the majority of those vote-by-mail ballots are coming back in the immediate few days after election night. Those are the ones that we collect through the mail today and the secure drop boxes. We really generally see tens of thousands, Wednesday, Thursday. Really, the week after that, it's a trickle from our military and overseas voters, but they all have to be properly postmarked by March 19th. So again, if you've got that vote-by-mail ballot and you're planning to put it in the mailbox, that doesn't ensure that that's going to get back to us with that proper postmark. So if you can't take it to a secure drop box today, make sure you get into a post office and get that all-important March 19th postmark, because that's what's going to take for your vote to count.
Nick, anything else?
No, just as long as when you're in line at 7 and the polls close, you're still in line. You can still vote, right?
Absolutely. Well, and the thing about low turnout is we're not expecting a lot of lines at precinct polling places or our vote centers today. And, the ballot, you do have to choose a political party. You got Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, and 4 wards only. But we do have a nonpartisan option, too, if you don't want to vote for any candidates. It's got that citywide referendum question. But get out before 7 p.m., no matter what line you're in or what location that you're at. You can vote. Just make sure you get it done before 7 p.m.
Appreciate the time. Good luck today.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Max.
And please be nice to the volunteers.
Oh,
if there's a question and there's confusion, these people who volunteered, they're all hopped up on donuts and coffee, and they're sitting there all day, and they're doing it for you. Nobody's making a bunch of money off this. So be nice to the volunteers.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are they called? Judges? Election judges?
Election judges, yep.
No. They going to get their own show out of this? Like Election Judge Judy?
Maybe 9 o'clock after you.
You didn't fill in the circle all the way.
That's right. Might be exciting.